guys, Georgia here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video I will be doing a monthly reading wrap up video for the month of May. So in May I ended up reading 6 books, which is honestly pretty good for me because I've been in a reading slump for maybe like the past 6 months, which has made reading like really difficult. But I am finally out of my reading slump, and so I read 6 books. Let's just get on with the video. So the first book that I finished this month was Killjoy by Holly Jackson. So I listened to that one on Audible and I ended up rating it 2 stars. I didn't really love it. So if you're not aware, Killjoy is the prequel novella to the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series from Holly Jackson. I personally loved the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. Like, the first book was a 5-star read for me, which is very rare, but I loved it. So I decided to check out Killjoy, but yeah, I just didn't love it. Like, I didn't really enjoy it at all. I got kind of bored and just really disinterested and disheartened, so like really quite quickly. Overall I gave it a 2-star just because, yeah, I didn't love it. It wasn't my favorite. So yeah, so Killjoy pretty much follows Pip, and it is prior to her solving the case that she solves in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which I will not go into depth with because I do not want to spoil anything for anyone. And she attends a 1920s themed murder mystery party, and Pip sort of finds herself really intrigued with finding out who killed Reginald Remy in the murder mystery party. But while she's trying to solve that, she sort of has on her mind all the time the case of Andy Bell from A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And so it just goes really in depth with like her thinking and all that sort of stuff in the book. But if you're interested, like, definitely go check it out because it is an interesting listen. And I don't know if it's just because I was listening on Audible that I didn't love it, because I didn't love the narration of it. But yeah, so the second book that I read this month, which is actually the book that got me out of my reading slump, and it was a 4.5-star read, which is very, very good, is Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. I adored this book. I adored the characters, I adored the storyline, and I just really adored the whole book in general. The only reason that I gave it a 4.5-star rating instead of something higher is just because I did find with the last like 50 pages to 100 pages, I started to just get a little bit, I don't want to say bored, but like, yeah, a little bit bored. And I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's just because I had been in a slump or whatever. But yeah, 4.5-star rating. I love Lynn Painter's work. I love her books. I just love her style of writing and the rom-com-ish of it all. And yeah, so this is the second book I've read by Lynn Painter. I read Better Than the Movies. That was my first read by her, and that was a 5-star read. Like, I loved Better Than the Movies. Such a good book. So if you've never heard of Happily Never After, it follows Sophie and Max. So Sophie is about to get married and someone interrupts her wedding at the altar and says they object. And Sophie and no one else knows who this man is, but he is objecting to her wedding. But you then later find out that Sophie, her future husband, was cheating on her, and when she found out about this, her friend, I think it was her friend, or her and her friend, I think, hired someone who, his side hustle is objecting to weddings for people who have found out news about their future significant other that makes them not want to marry them. So the story kind of follows Sophie and Max as they get to know each other, as they realize that there's more than just being friends there, and as they sort of work on this little career side hustle journey together. But honestly, such a good read. Like, if you're in a reading slump, I could not recommend Happily Never After more. I would read it 1,000 times over. They're just so cute, so wholesome, and I just love it. I love it, love it, love it so much. The next book I read was Tell Me What Really Happened by Chelsea Sidoti. So this is like a young adult crime thriller book, and I rated this one 2 stars, so not super high. I just found it really, really predictable, really, like, you kind of could tell what was gonna happen next before it happened, which was a shame because it was a cool writing style. So it's written in like police interview format, so just each individual character who was in the novel talking to the police about sort of what happened the like night of the incident, but also telling them like the background information, and that's how you figure out more about the characters. I really loved the police interview style, and it was a really quick read, obviously because it was in that style. Yeah, just super predictable, which kind of made it harder to get into. Like I said, it's just disappointing that it was kind of predictable. Yes, that was Tell Me What Really Happened. I'm not going to spoil what happened because if you'd like to read it, like, go and read it. It was good, but yeah, it just wasn't my favorite. And that was Tell Me What Really Happened. But the next book I read was Same Time Next Year by Tessa Bailey. And I rated this one a 1 star. I hated it, honestly, which was really, it was a shame, and I was very close to DNFing, but it was only like 120 or 130 pages long, so it's not a very long book, but I hated it. I wouldn't recommend it. To their own, it was really disappointing. I've never read any of Tessa Bailey's work, so I think I went in with probably not the best book to start with. So the book follows the story of Britta and Sumner, and I think that's how you say it, Sumner? I don't know. And basically Sumner is from Canada, and he is about to get shipped back to Canada, which he doesn't really want to do because he is so close to making the NHL team, and he is really good on like the local hockey team, rah rah rah. And so on New Year's Eve they come up with an idea that him and Britta will get green card married. So Britta's half brother is on the same hockey team as Sumner, so it's like kind of all interconnected. And yeah, so they end up getting like green card married on New Year's Eve, and it follows their story throughout a year. So they decide that they'll be married for a year and then they'll get divorced to make it more realistic. But yeah, I hated this book personally. It felt like there wasn't really a great deal of like romance. It was just very, to me it was very misogynistic with Sumner. He was very like, he just thought very sexual of Britta, and that was sort of all his thoughts were when you got his POV, which I hated. And yeah, I would have loved if there was a little bit more like romance and less of that sort of viewpoint and that storyline of it just being a smutty sexual relationship. Then I would have loved it. And like I enjoy like smutty books, like I'm not gonna lie, but I like it when it's that sort of divide of like romance but smut sort of mixed together. So that's what I would have much preferred. But yeah, and then I read, which I don't really know if you could count it as a book, but I count it as a book. I read Better Than the Prom by Lynn Painter, because I was really feeling Lynn Painter, and it's just a 30-page short story, sort of following on from Better Than the Movies. So it's pretty much just a follow on from Better Than the Movies, but it is in Wes's perspective, and it's just his perspective from the prom scene that's in Better Than the Movies, and his sort of thoughts on Liz in that moment and how he's feeling. So I rated this a 4 star. I just love Liz and Wes. I love their story, so it was just a no-brainer to rate it a 4 star and to just be obsessed with it and to love it. And then the last book that I read this month was Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. As you can tell, I had a very big Lynn Painter month this month, but I just loved her books. I love her books, and I think that they're so wholesome and so sweet and just such good books. So I rated this one 4.75 stars, so very, very close to a 5-star read. It is very hard to get a 5-star read out of me, but I really loved this book. It was just really wholesome and sweet, and I just loved it. And yeah, I read it in like 2 sittings. So Mr. Wrong Number follows the story of Olivia and Colin. So Olivia ends up moving in with her brother Jack and her brother Jack's roommate Colin, after a series of unfortunate events that happened to her, and a breakup and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, sort of follows her trying to get her life back together. But while she is living there, she gets a text from someone who has the wrong number. She calls him Mr. Wrong Number, and they sort of strike up a really good friendship. They really like each other, you know, they really get along, they have the same banter, all that sort of stuff. Not to spoil anything, like, you find out pretty early in the book that Mr. Wrong Number is Colin himself, but he does not want to tell Olivia because he was starting to develop feelings to this girl who he called Mrs. Misstyle. And to him, Olivia is his best friend's little sister. His best friend would sort of be very upset with him, like, you know. Yeah, so it just follows their story. They have like good banter, all that sort of stuff. Follows the story of Olivia and Colin. Follows the story of Olivia trying to find her feet, trying to get a job, trying to do all that sort of stuff. Colin trying to get over his feelings for Olivia, and just seeing what happens at the end. This book had me hooked. It had me hooked from like the very, very start. And the only reason I didn't rate it a 5 stars was, again, like Happily Never After, I just got a little bit bored within the last like 20 pages, which for me, a 5-star read is a book that I never get bored with. I could continue reading, like, I don't want it to stop, like that sort of thing. But yeah, overall, really, really loved this book and would read it again. So that is the 6 books that I read in the month of May. Overall, I'm really happy with my reading month, considering I've been in a slump for 6 months. But yes, we can thank Miss Lynn Painter for that. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and maybe subscribe if you would like, so that you can be notified when I post new videos. And I would love if you could comment down below and just let me know what your favourite read of the month of May was, because I would really, really love to know and add it to my recommendations. And yeah, I will see you all in my next video. Bye!